Hello and welcome back to a new video where I'm going to be making spaghetti bolognese sauce. Bolognese sauce. I'm not going to bore you with showing you how to cook spaghetti because hopefully that should be fairly obvious. If I'm wrong, I'll make a video about how to cook spaghetti for anyone who is interested in that. But today I'm going to cook bolognese sauce. Now, when I was quite small, I was a really fussy eater. And one of the things that Mum used to cook for me, really just to keep me alive, because it was one of the few things that I would eat, was mashed potato and bolognese sauce. For some reason I was just not too interested in spaghetti. So this is, how my mother would make it. I think what I've learned about making bolognese sauce as well is there's a desire to kind of make your signature sauce. Make it really cool. Let's try adding anchovies, let's try adding Marmite, let's try adding dark chocolate just to make it even more rich. What I have discovered is that nothing compares to just keeping it simple and making it work. As with most cooking, it's experience, it's timing, and it's due care and attention that really makes a meal delicious, not all these weird little flourishes. Let's get cracking. So what I've got here, I've got a pack of onions, I've got a pack of carrots. I just wandered down to Co-op and got these. It cost me £1.20 in total for these. Had some celery. I bought this in Sainsbury's not so long ago. It was, less than £1. 5% beef fat mince. I normally wouldn't go for 5%, but it's what's in the freezer at the moment. And then finely chopped tomatoes. To be honest, the brand doesn't matter hugely. This is quite an expensive brand at like £1 a can. So anything's going to work. Got a couple of beef stock cubes, which I'm going to use as well, and I will put them in water. I'm not going to include water in the ingredients list for this. So in terms of equipment, I'm going to be doing this in my Ninja 11-in-1 Foodi. Does air frying, does sauteing, and most importantly for today, it does pressure cooking, because we're going to pressure cook this bolognese just to speed everything up. So we're going to do that. I'm also going to use my Maggi mix. These look hideously expensive if you go on the internet, especially on the John Lewis website. However, this one I bought on eBay for £99 because loads of people get them as wedding presents and then get rid of them because they're massive. But if you do any cooking at volume, if you've got loads of people who need feeding regularly at home, this just speeds up prep so much. So I'll show you how I'm going to use it to make my mirepoix base out of these three components. That should help you understand where it comes in. Use it for dough from mashed potatoes, making pesto, all sorts. Great bit of kit to have. Cool. Without further ado, let's crack on with making the mirepoix. I have topped and tailed the carrots. I haven't bothered peeling them. I've skinned and halved the onions, and I've trimmed up the celery. No idea how much all of this weighs. I've just tried to roughly eyeball equal amounts. That's kind of how you should cook, I think. Through experimentation, you can learn how to get this perfect. So on with the Maggi mix. So as you can see, I've got a grating attachment for it. So flip it over, it goes to slicing. How much fun. Then we need to get the lid, excuse me. Chuck it on, then we turn it on to auto over here. And then clean that bit of muck off. We just feed things in. Obviously never put your hand in there because it will grate your hands. So got the mirepoix mix in there. Now, I keep saying mirepoix, but I believe mirepoix is when you make this mix, carrots, onions, celery, and you then fry it off in butter. Now, I'm not going to do that because I'm not a huge fan of frying things off in butter. I do love butter. I have a bit of a passion for butter. But yeah, I will not be doing this mirepoix with butter. I will be doing it with oil. I use an olive oil and veg seed kind of mix in this kitchen, and yes, we will we'll be using some of that with it. I think there's some Italian version of mirepoix which is this mix plus olive oil, but I can't remember what it's called. Right, so I've now got the pot in the Ninja. I've got it onto sear and saute mode on the highest, the 5th setting. I'm just going to set that off. Let's put some of this in here, some of that oil mix that I use, and then we are just going to dump the whole lot in. Use a silicone spatula to really get it out. Obviously in this top bit there are going to be some larger bits, but it doesn't matter. Obviously if you don't have a Magimix or a food processor, then you don't have to use one. I just do because I can't be bothered to grate them all down, but that is what you can do. You can grate it down, dice it up with a knife, although personally I like it to be super fine, so dicing it up with a knife can be a little bit challenging. Whew. It's making me cry a bit. Put all this away for a moment. Wash it up later. This is going to be exciting, this bit. But yeah, what's going to happen with all this obviously is it's just going to turn to a mush in there. Eventually, you know, we're going to cook the living hell out of this. So here's just that mushy, kind of comforting stuff that's going to be around it. So yeah, we'll let that go for a bit. I'm going to go and get on top of the washing up. I'm experimenting with cooking a chicken upside down, because this is just when I air fry a small chicken, that's how I do it, and I've been quite enjoying the results, so I thought I would see what happens with it in the oven. That. Quick update on this, so the water is sweating out of here quite nicely. Off camera, I have just gone through this. I've picked out some of the larger bits of celery just because, do you remember we scraped the top and we got lots of larger chunks? Normally I don't mind, there were some very large bits of celery, so they came out. They've gone in the veg bones for stock thing. And yeah, this is losing its water, hence the steam's coming out, and it's reducing massively. I think when we were on camera it was nearly full up here. So this is going quite well. I'm just going to let it go a touch more. One thing that I will do also, I'm just going to add mixed herbs at this stage. So yeah, if you have a different way of making bolognese, then please comment down below, let me know how you would do this differently. It's always good to get a variety of opinion. I just hope that this provides a kind of base level of how to do this. I thought as well I'd mention, if you don't happen to own one of these, of course you can just do all this on in a saucepan on your stove pot. I just like doing it like this because of the pressure cook. You get a good base level of cookery in there, and then you can just sweat it off rather than have to kind of babysit it the whole time, which I find that you do have to do later on. Anyway, that's I think, about as much as I can say about this at the moment. I'll bring you back in when we're adding the beef mince and getting that browned off. But let's go to a message from our sponsor for this video. So, last night, this little moustache man came up into my room just as I was drifting off, and he started meowing incessantly. And this obviously annoyed me greatly. I took him downstairs and I gave him a pouch of food. That didn't really seem to interest him at the time, so yeah, I went back to bed. This is about you. Yeah, I went back to bed, and then you came and got me up again, and then we went back downstairs, and then you had some biscuits, and then you were happy and you were quiet. And this story will be familiar to the 25% of UK households who have a cat. Their meows for food often conjure a comic reaction from their owners, as if gluttony is ingrained into a cat's character. If my humans won't provide, they think, then I must hunt. The fields are ripe with rodents, the skies with unsuspecting avian delicacies. Do you hear that, human? The faint rustle of leaves, the eerie silence of the air. That's the sound of your cat planning its escape, its next hunting expedition. Don't risk it. Your cat knows what they need. Feed them. This message is a public service announcement from Horace, a concerned citizen of the feline kingdom and a staunch proponent of hunting for sport and not for sustenance. This has been going for 16 minutes. I've been intermittently stirring it, and now I'm going to put the mince in. 5% mince is normally not my preference, but I have some in the freezer and I want to use it up. I prefer, the 15 to 20% mince for this application. Also, you can add, do 50-50 beef and lamb if you want. You can add a bit of pork in there. Really experiment and see what you enjoy. I do like doing this with lamb mince. It is just, I don't want to, spend £1 million on this. It is a cheap staple meal for weeknights. I think, if it's less, say for argument's sake, it makes it 50% more expensive. I don't think it makes it 50% better. But maybe if I was doing this more for a dinner party, I could add a bit of lamb or some pork or whatever I want. Pork would be with the fat. Okay, so I just literally pushed that out of the packet, didn't I? With this 5%, there's not really a great deal of holding it together. It's more ground. There's not as much extrusion going on. You're not, you're not getting those long strands of mince. So that's just, how this is going to go. But because we've got that onion, carrot and celery mix, and garlic if you would be yearning to add that, that's just now really flavouring up the whole thing. I'm also at this point going to add a little bit of salt to the mix, bit of my sea salt. So salt does dehydrate things, gets the, draws the moisture out more quickly, which is sometimes good. Sometimes it's not very good. So if you are making something like oven chips, if you salt them when they go in the oven, they're going to shrivel up a lot because it'll try and draw the moisture out, and then that'll evaporate off. But with pressure cooking, I find that you have to kind of over season it a bit. And also sometimes weird things happen in the pressure cooker. Like sometimes, for instance, I've tried it where I've added Worcestershire sauce, and that has just kind of the temperature that pressure cooking brings everything up to has completely destroyed the Worcestershire sauce and turned it into a sum of its parts basically, and has not worked. So Anyway, let's leave this here for the moment, and I will bring you back in for the next stage. We're now going to start adding some liquids to this. I'm going to choose to start with stock. I'm just going to add these. Can I bring this out? Does that make it? Yeah, that makes it a bit better, doesn't it? Just going to use these. I think I bought these stock cubes from Lidl a very long time ago. They're still good, they keep forever. Just beef stock, super cheap, no idea how much they cost. Done this, and I'm just going to lob this in the microwave. I'm going to put in 2 for good measure. A bit of wine here that I'm going to use for adding some flavour to this. I'll probably pour that in while we're going. So I don't think it hugely matters what order you go and do this in terms of adding liquids, but yeah, I'm just gonna do it this way because in my head it makes sense. I don't know if that actually does. Then let's add our wine. Now you see, this is the fun thing about this part of the cooking process, adding the liquids to something hot, is that's obviously, I didn't warm the wine up beforehand, so that has cooled all of this down and started to slow the process here. But yeah, I'm really starting to get some of the tones of the wine there. As you can see, it's gone a bit darker, a bit more fun. I'm also going to get this, my tin chopped tomatoes. Okay, I'm just going to put a bit of water in that and just swirl it around just so that we get the most out of that, because as you can see, we haven't done that so far. So yeah, just as you can see, about half full of water, and just whip that in as quickly as possible, and now that's nice and clean. That's starting to look a bit like bolognese. For pressure cooking to work, you need a decent amount of liquid in here, and so very soon we're going to be putting this down, locking it up, getting it going. So I've just warmed through this sauce, a bit of stock. Gonna do this, I don't want that many bits in. Okay, whack in there. And I'm just gonna add a bit more wine because I don't think that's quite enough to get the pressure working. Okay, hopefully that will do. Now let's stop, close the lid, move it over to the pressure setting. So yeah, moved it over to pressure mode, and I'm just gonna whack this on for an hour. So you make sure that the vent is set to closed. And there we go. Right, so it's finished pressure cooking. So let's let the steam out. Nice, got that open. In there. So it's cooked, but it isn't quite done yet, so I'm really happy with that. It looks kind of bolognese, but yeah, it's not, as you can probably see, it's still kind of quite wet. So what I'm going to do is wheel you down. Just gonna set this to slow cook. I don't have a medium, do I? Buffet. Just gonna put slow cook on high. Just do this. Find that putting it on slow cook for this last bit is way better than on the sear and saute. I find that a bit too harsh. And yeah, obviously if I was actually trying to slow cook this, which is a very valid way of making bolognese sauce, I would have the lid closed to try and keep that moisture in. But I do, at this moment, I want it to breathe and I want that moisture to leave. Righty-ho, so that's been going for about an hour and a half. And I won't bore you with showing the last and final bit of me tubbing it up and letting it cool and then putting it in the freezer. So we'll leave that there. Thank you very much for watching and see you in the next one. Right, no, sorry, just hang on for a couple more minutes. I want to talk a little bit about the cost of this and why I do it like this. So it takes about half a day, an afternoon, to make a batch of bolognese sauce. So therefore, if you want to get the value out of it, you want to do a large amount at once. So that's what I've done essentially, and I split this into 4 tubs that do 2 portions each, and so we got 8 portions out of this bolognese. Fantastic news. The total cost, you'll see, I'm going to show a slide. So you'll see the whole thing was £8.40. I did £1.20 on the carrots and onions down at my local co-op, very cheap. The celery is 75p on the Sainsbury's website. I think it was about that. It might have been on offer 57p or something, but if you went and tried to replicate this right now, it would be 75p. The mince is £5.25. You can shave a bit off that if you go for fattier mince. But yeah, that's reasonable. It was a 700 gram pack, so there you go. Chopped tomatoes, I obviously used an expensive pack of chopped tomatoes, but I recently replaced that because that was actually the last tin. I replaced it with some cheaper stuff, and that was, I think, like 45p per tin, so that's good. And the beef stock down at 20p per portion. So, sorry, 20p per portion? 20p for the amount that I used. So currently this is £1.05 per portion, which I don't think is really too bad in the grand scheme of things when you consider, get a pack of bacon and some buns, you're talking about, about £1 for a bacon sandwich. So I'm happy with that. Obviously, you would eat this with spaghetti, and at the moment, the cheapest thing of spaghetti you can get in Sainsbury's is, I think, 29p for 4 or 5 portions. I think it's like 250 grams, I can't remember. Anyway, so you can get this under or at around £1 a portion. The way that I did it was £1.05 per portion, but that's acceptable to me. I'm sure that you could pull some levers within there to make this better. You could maybe do more of it at once. I think the amount of base that I used actually would have gone a lot further than just that 700 grams of mince, and obviously the more you buy, the cheaper you'll get it. So yeah, thank you for sticking with me to the end and figuring out how much it costs. So that's, very much appreciated. And please like and subscribe and share this video with someone else, because that all helps with YouTube. Thank you.